We had a horrible, terrible terrorist attack last week in the UK. This time in the UK, normally this would not be the type of topic for you, the finance guru, but you are very knowledgeable in the area of terror finance. So do you have any insight on the financial picture involved with this terrorist attack?
Just after 9/11, George W. Bush said, money is the lifeline of terrorist operations, and today we're asking the world to stop payment. That remains true more than 15 years later. Look, King, we cannot stop all terrorism, but we can certainly thwart a lot of potential attacks by cutting off the money supply. So the truth of the matter is that these terrorist organizations, they need funding just like any other legitimate organization. So the good news here related to the fight against terrorism, when it comes to money, there's always a trail, and that trail is critical to figuring out where these terrorists lie. The other side of the coin is that it's not easy to find the trail. So let's go a little deeper into this. So to begin with, when we're talking about terrorists, these are sinister people. They're despicable, but they're not stupid. All right, and what happens here is that they're always looking for ways to find funding. So we often hear about dirty money that's ultimately laundered, so it appears to be legitimate. And many times the source there is illegal drugs. So since 9/11, the international community has implemented a lot of banking regulations that are specifically designed to cut off the terrorists. But there's unfortunately a lot of countries that we can't get to jump on board with us and start to really bear down on the trail of money through banking systems. And of course, now in today's world, and you and I have talked about this, we have things like Bitcoin on the internet, where tracing the funds is even more difficult. So this is certainly a huge challenge for us. And one of the keys here, King, is getting international cooperation. So we really need to have a legal framework in every country possible to criminalize terrorist financing and money laundering. You know, this isn't the Olympics, so we're not competing against each other. We're all on the same team. And I'll tell you what's really been effective in the United States in terms of regulatory framework within banking is this know your customer effort. In terms of when you have someone who's making deposits, you really need to know who that customer is and what their habits are so that when something unusual happens, you have the let's say the ability or the knowledge or the inkling that this is something that should be reported. It's kind of like what we see in New York City, the heavy advertising everywhere. If you see something, say something. That's really, really important when it comes to financial institutions. And let me also make another point here. You know, when we think of terrorist networks, sometimes we're thinking about places like Afghanistan, and that's simply not true. It's local, and it could even be an organization that you've been involved with or have donated money to, because terrorists are attracted to charities and non-governmental organizations to raise money and to move assets around, because that industry somewhat has a non-transparent nature. So while there's a lot of legitimate charities out there that promote, noble social and economic causes, the lack of regulation and oversight in that sector, as well as the international nature of charitable work, makes this area, these charitable organizations, really vulnerable to abuse by terrorist networks. So terrorists are really looking to exploit anywhere where they see a weak link. And that's something that we really need to be aware of. We need to follow the money.